Hello, and welcome back to us having a grand old time.
To Grace sinks into depression, and Claire sinks into
Delirium.
hysteria.
It's late. But we're doing this anyway. Last we left off, Lillian got a sword to her chest, so we're gonna see what happens there.
Hey, you know who else got stabbed? Her ancestor.
What?
You know who her ancestor was?
Who?
Frodo
No
Baggins.
way.
The very same one who dropped the ring thing. That whole shenanigans.
Alright, we're on chapter 6. This is a full 2 pages, this chapter. Look at me go. Wow. Okay. Alright.
You're already laughing.
I can't do this. Alright, chapter 6, the wish liquid. Oh, this is so stupid. Agela screamed as the orc pulled his sword from Lillian's body. Lillian looked stunned for a moment, then fell face forward and did not move. The head orc walked slowly toward the other hobbits and said, "Now, does anyone else want to tell me anything about the all-powerful ring? Or perhaps you would like to end up like your friend here." Agela was breathing heavily with anger and fear, and with each breath she felt the ring in her pocket. Her eyes darted from the head orc to where Lillian was lying, and back again with uncertainty, wondering what Lillian would do. She was about to crack and tell the head orc that the ring was in her pocket, when suddenly there was a screeching sound and a blinding flash of green lightning. And when Agela looked up, Elot was standing at the edge of the mountain, glowing in an emerald green light.
Frick him.
And was holding a sword as well as a staff. That was all one sentence.
Frick him. He can't just swoop in now. You have to get captured like the rest of them.
Well, apparently not.
I don't really like him.
The orc that had stabbed Lillian ran with his sword raised towards Elot, but with one flick of Elot's sword, the orc fell to the ground without a head. 4 more orcs followed, but they all met the same
I
fate.
thought you were being so edgy.
As soon as it had started, it was over. The only 2 beings left standing was Elot and the head orc. Elot shouted in a language that Agela didn't understand and pointed his staff at the head of the orc. Instantly, the orc was dead on the ground. Gandalf
doesn't really use magic. Did we talk about this before?
Yeah, we did.
Because, a lot's just doing any random thing you can. But, Gandalf didn't.
Well, I think the lesson we learned here is that Gandalf sucks.
Gandalf should use magic more,
Seriously. Okay. All of the hobbits were in shocked silence for a minute, and then Margin slowly stood up with some difficulty because his hands were tied behind his back.
We were in peril for so long.
Elot saw this, and with another flick of his staff, all of the hobbits were unbound, including Lillian. Margin ran over to her with Macon and Agela following suit, there it is again, and knelt down next to Lillian. He turned her over and found that her face was white. Blood was seeping out of a hole in her dress, and when Margin looked closer, there was a wound right under her heart. Macon went to the other side of Lillian and put an ear next to her mouth and his hand over her heart.
Well, at least it's right under her heart.
He listened for a while before sitting up and saying shakily, "She's gone." Oh my gosh.
Well, is she gonna be back? What's so funny?
It's just so morbid.
She's gone. 1 second, you're like, gosh, this is so weird.
It's so weird.
You know, you're really dramatic when you're writing. I'm the same way, where I'm like, ooh, this is dramatic. This is totally... It kind of comes
I
out
thought I was
cringy.
edgy.
You thought you were edgy. You're not edgy.
I never really had an emo phase. So
You
this
just went through
is where my edge came out.
I don't have an emo phase either.
No. Okay. Agela's eyes filled filled with tears. She bit her lip and took one of Lillian's hands. There was absolute silence for the longest time, with only the wind howls on the mountaintop. Until Elot said abruptly, "Where is the ring?"
What is a hobbit killer? He's just making it look like an accident.
"I have it," Agela said quickly, and she reached into her pocket and pulled it out. Elot snatched it out of her hand and put it into a fold of his robes. Then he muttered some words to his staff and pointed it at Lillian's body, and suddenly it was engulfed in emerald light. Elot raised his staff and Lillian's body was lifted off the ground. "Get everyone's belongings, Margin," he said, gesturing to the pile of satchels and weapons. Margin did so, having to step over 2 orcs in the process. See, I was edgy.
Look, he's stepping over orcs.
The company retreated down the mountain, going quickly in case there were other orcs around. Agela kept Sting with her, keeping her eyes on the blade to see if it started to glow again. They got back to what was left of their camp safely and began to prepare for a burial. They didn't know what else to do with Lillian's body.
I don't think you knew what else to do.
You
were just like, well, she's gonna get buried then?
Macon dressed the wound on Lillian's chest lightly, even though it would do no good.
Are they still in, like, the shock phase?
Yeah, probably. When Macon was done with that, Elot conjured a shovel out of thin air, one of the few things he could make out of nothing, and told
Why
Macon...
hasn't he done that before?
I don't know, and told Macon to start digging a hole for a grave.
Well, you know, they could just
Jeez,
burn
they're
her
doing
body.
this.
They could burn her body, except, you know, Margin forgot matches, so... I had to be brought up.
You're going to lean over to me at my wedding and go, "This party would be more lit, except Martin forgot the matches, and I'm going to hit you over the head with a champagne glass."
Okay, no, I'm gonna be like your maid of honor, and I'm gonna have to make a speech, and I'm just gonna read this. No. Hey, Grace's husband. You want to know what she was like when she was 14?
My future husband, if you're watching this, I'm sorry.
I'm not.
Agela had brought a needle and thread, so she got to work stitching up the hole in Lillian's dress where the sword had gone through. But she pricked herself many times because her eyes were filled with tears. Martin wasn't given anything to do, so he sat with his knees up to his chest and watched Agela work silently. When Agela was halfway finished, he looked up abruptly and smacked himself on the head. "I just remembered," he said, jumping up. Agela watched him in confusion as he ran to his satchel, rummaged around in it, and then pulled out a small vial. "I got this a long time ago," he said, running back to Lillian's body. "It is wish liquid. I was given it when I came of age. I brought it just in case something like this happened. I can't believe I forgot about it." You don't have to say it. We are thinking the same thing. I know it. Just stop.
Well, at least you brought the wish.
I told you! Margin knelt down to Lillian's body and opened the vial. He whispered something into the bottle and poured all of it into Lillian's wound. They all watched and waited with bated breath, but nothing happened.
Baited? Ooh!
I'm getting spicy here.
Look at you!
Margin turned his head away and stuck the stopper back on the vial. "I'm sorry," he said shakily, like he was about to break into tears. He stood up and hung his head. "I didn't mean to get everyone's hopes up. This wish liquid is the most Deus Ex Machina thing. It's, like, not set up at all. It comes out of nowhere. It's not even, like, canon in the Lord of the Rings." Agela looked down at Lillian's body, tears shining in her eyes again. Macon went back to digging, but more slowly this time, as if he had a heavy weight on his back. Then suddenly, as Agela watched, a shiver went down Lillian's body and she took a breath. Agela gasped. "Wait," she said, and everyone stopped what they were doing and watched as Lillian's eyes opened. Lillian lay for a moment with her eyes open, taking huge deep breaths. Then suddenly she sat up and asked, "What happened? Where am I?" Then clutched at the place where the wound was and winced. "You were dead," Agela said. She smiled with relief. She couldn't help herself. Macon dropped the shovel and ran to Lillian's side and knelt next to his brother. "Amazing," he breathed, feeling the pulse on Lillian's arm. "The wish liquid brought you back to life. It did the impossible." Wish liquid, Lillian said. She looked and felt extremely confused. I had brought a vial of wish liquid with me in case something happened, Margin said, taking Lillian's hand. Tears shone in his eyes.
What is wish liquid?
I can't believe it
What
worked.
is it?
I don't know!
She should have just, like, almost died.
There's so many things wrong with this. Lillian didn't say anything. She clutched at her wound and inhaled sharply. Macon, do you think you have anything to help this? She asked. No, nothing for a stab wound, Macon said.
Die.
But I do have some things for cuts. I guess we could try those. Because that's extremely alike.
That's the same thing.
He went to his medicine bag and started rummaging around in it.
No.
I also really liked the word rummaging. While he did that, Agella and Margin told Lillian what had happened, starting from when she was stabbed.
So nothing happened. You got stabbed. Magic?
By the end of it, Lillian was feeling very awkward, but not as confused. After Macon dressed the wound a little better, she took a breath cautiously, not only feeling a slight sharp pain. Then something occurred to her. Where is Elot? She asked.
Oh, shoot.
The company looked around, but Elot was nowhere to be seen. The dark clouds were lighter, so that meant that daytime had come again, and that meant that Lillian had been dead for exactly 3 hours. Agella and Margin went looking for Elot.
Amateur.
They came back without him. They came back without him about 15 minutes later. Oh, when they... Oh, God, I can't read. I can't write and I can't read. When they came back without him about 15 minutes later, a quick decision was made to wait just a little longer before moving on. Mostly because Lillian was too weak to walk. Macon and Agella stood guard outside their little camp, but Margin didn't leave Lillian's side. When Lillian was strong enough to walk and Elot still wasn't back, they reluctantly made the decision to leave without him, and hopefully he would find them. After all, Lillian said, he is a wizard. If he can appear and disappear at will, then he can find us. But when they were about to set off again, he showed up at last, and he was leading a little black pony on a leather strap. I was wondering if you would leave without me, he said, sounding amused. But I was getting someone to make Lillian's journey a little bit easier. He gestured at the pony, which tossed its head and stamped the ground, as if it was impatient to start off. Lillian smiled gratefully. Thank you, she said. It will make this much easier. Lillian climbed awkwardly onto the pony with some help from Agella. Margin volunteered to lead it, and they set off again, keeping a wary eye out for any more orcs. This is a nice long chapter we're coming up on.
Oh my
I'm looking
gosh.
ahead. I get 3 full pages.
Wow.
Look at me go.
Like the 3 full hours that Lillian was dead.
Okay.
That's the lamest.
Well,
that makes Marvel look like good.
I hope you guys liked this one. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know.
Yeah, she should have been dead for like more chapters, maybe.
Well, even if people don't like the series, we're still gonna do it.
Do people not like it?
I don't know. I only have 11 subscribers.
It's okay. I only know 11 people.
Yeah, and our family is 8 of them.
7.
7?
Do I count myself as someone I know? Do
That-
I know myself?
Yeah, it depends. Do you know yourself? I'm gonna go take my makeup off now.
Okay.
I'm really sad.
Why are you sad?
It's just not good.
Well, like, you've gotten better. I think if you
Yeah,
did
but it's
voices,
just
it would
not
be
good.
so much better.
We're delirious. It's getting late.
Most of this is gonna be cut out.
Probably.
Okay.
Okay.
Keep staring at it. Just keep staring.
I'm just watching the timer on how long we've been recording tick up.
Just like, it's been a minute and nothing has happened.
I got a tripod in other news. Well, I didn't.
You got it?
We've had it for a very,
this
very long
light
time.
is new. What is this light?
This light is just the desk lamp I've had for a while that used to be clipped over there. But when I filmed my speech this afternoon, I was like, hey, wait a minute. I can just clip that onto the tripod and then use it as like, it's not a ring light, but it's like a light, so we don't look weird.
It's been
in the dark.
blinding me.
Well, I'm sorry, but it makes us look good.
At least I'm
Because
look good. I can't see.
Look what happens when I turn it off. Now we look like all yellow.
I still can't see.
So I
look like I'm a main of like little dots from the light flare. This
okay,
is also getting
we are
cut out.
delirious. We're gonna go to bed. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you
Bye.
on the
Thanks for
other
sticking it out.
side.